will tell you, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, that some of the staff here at PAG RTA are a little disappointed because we normally bring in La Estrella for Shane, and everybody gets to benefit from that. So we're a little disappointed to have these virtual, but we'll just have to eat that as La Estrella on our own.
So you still had last Stray, is what you're trying to tell me.
I cannot confirm nor deny.
All right. Well, with that messaging going into the new year, since we have a quorum, let's go ahead and call this bad boy to order. It is now called to order. We go to item number 2, which is the approval of the meeting summary of November 12th. I would entertain a motion to approve said meeting summary.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you for moving forward the meeting summary. We go to item number 3, which is the consent agenda. We do have one item on for information only. It's the 2026 top environmental issue list from the EPAC. Does anybody have any questions, thoughts on this? Any comment you want to make? This is, I believe, a non-action item, just for information. All right. I have nothing further on this item, Mr. Ortega, unless you needed anything for this item.
No, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mike. All right. Let's go to item number 4, which I believe is the 25 to 29 tip amendment number 2025-030. And this one will have an action requested at the end. Mike, do you have staff to make a presentation?
I do. Very brief presentation from Adam Ledford. Adam, if you could take the mic, that'd be great.
Sure thing. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Amendment 2025.030 is pretty straightforward. What we're looking to do is for 2 City of Tucson projects, we're looking to shift some STBG, about $2 million, $2,045,000 to be precise. So for the 22nd Street project, we're moving it from fiscal 27, pulling that back into fiscal 2025. And the corresponding match to that is on Valencia Road, pushing some funding from 26 into 27. So it's a net neutral change, so it doesn't affect financial constraint at all. The city requested this. We see no objections to it, and it went through TPC with no comment, and recommendation to approval was unanimous. And at this time, we'll be looking for, happy to answer any questions about this, but basically also seeking a recommendation for approval.
All right, thank you very much. Does anybody have any comments or questions on this? All right, hearing and seeing none. Do we have a motion related to this item?
So move.
Thank you, Jan.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Thank you both. All those in favor of approving the tip amendment, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, and I will say any abstained. I went ahead and abstained from this one. I might not have needed to, but what the heck, right? So, all right, let's thank you all. Let's roll forward to item number 5. The draft FY 2027 to 2030 PAG Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan. This one also would have an action requested to forward this or to approve the draft plan. So with that, Mr. Ortega, do you have a presentation?
We do. Very brief presentation. This is a standard update to the Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan. You do this, I believe it's every 4 years. So I'll turn it over to Janine Sullivan. Janine?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Management Committee. I'm Janine Sullivan here at Pima Association of Governments. I'm the Transportation, Mobility, and Accessibility Program Manager. I'm going to do a brief overview over this draft plan, the fiscal year 2027 through 2030 PAG Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan. And as stated just a moment ago, we'll be looking for your recommendation for the Regional Council to approve this plan. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the slides that we have for this particular presentation. And while we're bringing those up, just going to share with you why this plan matters. One, it is federally required. It's a locally developed plan. We use a variety of plans in the development, including like PAGs, short and long range transportation plans, the 2055 Regional Mobility and Accessibility Plan, and various other plans that are regionally focused from the city of Tucson and, of course, Centran. We include the involvement of 16 human service organizations, the Mobility Coordination Working Group, which meets 4 times a year and typically has around 16 to 18 transportation providers in participation at those meetings. And of course, those include public transit agencies here in our region and volunteer driver programs. Moving to the next slide, just a quick overview of what the plan includes. It's not an all-inclusive list, but it's just a high-level cursory review of what the plan includes. That's an assessment of available services that identify the current transportation providers in our region. Those are public, private, and of course, nonprofit. It includes an assessment of transportation needs for individuals with disabilities, older adults, specifically 65 and older, and then people with low incomes. It has an overview of strategies, activities, or projects that address any identified gaps in our region, opportunities to achieve efficiencies in service delivery across the region, and of course, priorities for implementation of any specific strategies or activities that are found throughout the plan. Moving to the next slide, with regard to foundational elements in this plan, there's a variety of service area boundary maps. Over 50 different organizations or agencies in the greater Tucson region are reflected in these boundary maps. Just a quick rundown, it'd be about 16 human service organizations that are actively involved in the FTA Section 5310 program, 2 public transit agencies, 15 non-emergency medical transportation providers, 17 volunteer driver programs that are facilitated through Pima Council on Aging through their Neighbors Care Alliance programs, and various veterans transportation services, and I believe 6 private companies as well. It includes the human services providers and related agencies survey, which we're going to talk about in a moment in an upcoming slide. A network of all the transportation providers in our region. It has some breakdowns with regard to populations that are served in relationship to the transit network. Those specifically are like minority populations, those age 65 and above, and of course, persons with a disability. It has an assessment of needs and transportation resources within our region, opportunities for regional coordination, and of course, the associated goals and priorities outlined for our region. Moving to the next slide, just a quick overview of some of those service area boundary maps with a little bit more of a micro view. It includes all funded providers through FTA Section 5310 funds. It gives a review of Sun Shuttle dial ride services area with regard to population density, Sun Van service area with regard to population density, and that can be for all 3 groups mentioned earlier: elderly, those with a disability, and minority groups, non-emergency medical transportation providers, volunteer driver programs, and of course, veteran transportation services. Moving to the next slide, that overview that I promised you with regard to the survey that was conducted, 14 to 16 participants for each survey question, just varied by questions. For some questions, that agency wasn't able to speak to that component, so that's why we have a variance. But just as a quick overview, some of the elements that we tried to focus on with regard to the survey was to get a better understanding of the percent of programs that have a primary focus for a specific population versus just understanding what programs are offered in our region through human services organizations. So for context, that would be what programs are focused on adults with a disability versus those that are age 65 and above, those that are ADA eligible within Pima County, individuals that are both 65 and have a disability, and of course, seniors and other transportation dependent individuals. We also looked at number of agencies that have programs serving in specific geographic areas to get a better understanding of those that serve in rural areas versus urban or both, and then how their programs help in those areas, whether it be with regard to job development, employment day programs, behavioral health, home visits, et cetera, with regard to transportation. And then, of course, percent of programs that are offering what we call client-based transportation to specific populations, meaning an individual cannot get transportation services unless they're a client of that particular organization. I think that's a helpful element of context there for that particular element. And then, of course, opportunities for coordination within the region. And some of the things that were identified in that survey was there's an opportunity for coordination for serving both the elderly, those with developmental disabilities, veterans that are age 65 and above, and those that are either deaf, deafblind, or hard of hearing. And then we also wanted to get a better understanding with regard to our transportation providers, specifically nonprofits, for the most part, if they have a primary and a secondary trip purpose as they look at the services they provide in our region. Moving to the next slide is an overview of regional goals and priorities. We did ask for the Transit Working Group and the Mobility Coordination Working Group to weigh in on the regional goals and priorities. And some of those that are referenced in the plan are specific to newer expanded services to meet any identified gaps that are notated in the plan, support for transportation services, of course, cost containment practices, maintaining assets in a state of good repair, and then, of course, tying back to coordination of transportation services is specific to how do we coordinate with nonprofits that have client-based ridership, and how do we coordinate those with what we call non-client riders, those that are not necessarily clients of a particular organization. And what we found through that is opportunities, like stated before, to serve those that are elderly, those with a developmental disability, those with autism, mental health related disabilities, veterans, deaf-blind, or hard of hearing populations. We also looked at information resources as one of the regional goals or priorities, as well as opportunities to better serve the needs of the general public. And then lastly, moving to the next slide, just wanted to give you a brief overview of the feedback and approval process. As stated before, we did include the involvement of a variety of organizations throughout the region. This includes the Mobility Coordination Working Group that includes 73 recipients, and over 20 organizations are represented. The Transit Working Group, which has 29 recipients, various emails and correspondence to gain feedback and involvement in the plan. And then, of course, our 30-day public comment period, which ran from December 15th of 2025 through yesterday, January 13th, 2026. And then, of course, today we're asking for your recommendation for regional council to approve this plan, and then it will go to regional council for approval. And then with our next slide, I'm just opening it up to any questions or comments.
Thank you, Janine. Does anybody from the management committee have any questions or comments for staff? All right. My comment would be thank you for the presentation and the great work on this item. And then I would call for, is there a motion to approve this draft plan?
I'll move that approval, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Shane.
Second.
Thank you, Jan. All right. So we have a motion and a second on the Human Services Transportation Plan. All those in favor of approving the draft plan, please say aye.
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 Aye. Anybody opposed? All right. Congratulations, and motion carries.
Mr. Chair,
With-
members of the Management Committee.
Thank you, Janine. Well done.
Thank you.
All right. With that, we slide on into item 6. I think, Mike, I just turned this to you for discussion about time and dates.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Tim. So Shane had asked for a change of time. and wanted to maybe turn it over to him a little bit, but we did poll you all. We did have a couple of members that had conflicts early. And so just really wanted to open it up and just say, hey, we can be flexible on our end. 8:30 tends to work a little better for most folks, I think, but everybody can accommodate 8 o'clock if we need to. As you know, having folks come in is good in terms of chemistry, particularly when we have management and TMC together, and particularly when we're looking at spreadsheets and things that we can share back and forth. But I wanted to, kind of throw it out. Shane, maybe I'll turn it over to you. I know that request was originally yours. Maybe you could lead part of the discussion there.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, as it's played out, this schedule with meeting at 8:30 on the third or the second Wednesday of every month, it conflicts with a extended leadership team meeting that involves over 40 people on my end, and moving that schedule for my team is a Herculean effort at best. And so I thought maybe I would just extend a question out there as to whether or not a different week on a Wednesday work, or moving the meeting up to 8 o'clock, because that would, assuming that it's an hour and a half, that would give me a half an hour to get back to the office for my leadership meetings that start at 10 o'clock on that second Wednesday of every month.
Thanks, Shane. One of the things that we could consider would be moving it to the third Wednesday. A little bit of a hang up there for us internally is that we normally have the regional council and board meetings on the fourth Thursday, third or fourth Thursday, depending. And so if we have it on the third Wednesday, it won't give us a lot of time to prepare for the actual board meeting. So moving it another week might be a little bit of a challenge for us. Probably could figure out how to make that work. But what I would suggest is instead, maybe we move it to Thursday. Instead of the second Wednesday, maybe we'll make it the second Thursday, as just an opportunity there. So again, wanted to throw it out to you all. I figured since you're all pretty much together, maybe we could just hammer this out now. Because doing the doodle polls is great, but if you have one that doesn't, or a couple that don't, where it doesn't work, then it becomes problematic. So open to suggestions.
Well, I just think the team
so-
ahead, just thank you for considering it. That's all. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Shane. So Mike, moving it to the third Wednesday of the month is a non-starter for me, because that's the date for WIFA board meetings.
Okay.
And so that's an unresolvable conflict for me.
Okay.
Sliding to the Thursday, top of my head, nothing's easy. I think that's our motto around here. Nothing around here is easy. But I think sliding to the Thursday of the second week is doable from my end. Shane, does that resolve your conflict, or does that just create a new one?
No, it's probably for all of us, it represents conflict, but that solves the biggest of my conflicts. That leadership meeting is a hard one to move around. So yeah, I would take that option over status quo for sure.
And go ahead, Jan.
Mr. Chairman, the Thursday is fine. I'm also fine just meeting you earlier in the day, on this Wednesday, 7:38, whatever works there. So I think that probably for all of us, whatever we adjust, we just need a little runway, right? Because we're going to have to readjust some other things. But for me, the easiest is to keep this day and just go earlier, but I will make it work, whatever.
Thanks, Jen.
I
can also do that. Yeah, go ahead.
I agree with Jan on that.
This is hey Mike, this is Jeremy. So the Thursday would probably work best for me, just because I got to get my struggle is getting the kids to school. By the time I drop them off and get downtown, it's going to be past the time. That's my only struggle. Just because I have no other way to get them there in the morning.
Here's a thought. If we can make the management committee meetings at 8, normally they take, well, I think the record is 7 minutes, but they normally take somewhere about 15, maybe 20 minutes at the most. So Jeremy, that would put the TMC starting right at about 8:15, 8:20. Would that give you enough of a buffer where you could be here for TMC?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be tight. I mean, because I'm coming all the way from the east side of town, so I drop them off at usually 7:40, and then I got to bolt all the way down Broadway. So yeah, I mean, we can try to make it work. It might be tight.
Jeremy, there's some amazing schools on the west side. Just saying.
Jeremy, you could move to Saladita. We got great schools.
Yeah, no, they're
Just kidding.
over there off of Broadway and Craycroft.
And
I'll
might be
work
able
with
to-
Sam.
Let's insert some comments about the quality of the streets that you're traveling on too.
Yeah, I think we have Broadway paved now.
Okay.
Good point. Good point.
So we'll
Hey,
just work on the signals.
How about this? What if we try 8 o'clock for our next meeting? See how that works, Jeremy, for you. And we'll do, because think through this for a minute. We're going to have probably close to monthly meetings, I suspect, until after March. Well, probably through April, depending on the outcome of the election, probably through April, maybe into May. And then we'll probably go to quarterly anyway. So it may not be quite as disruptive. I'm just kind of thinking through, so we're not changing the date and potentially adding to the conflicts. Maybe we just move it up a little bit and start at 8. Something like that is kind of what I'm throwing out. What do you all think?
Hey, Mike, I think that works. What I'd also throw in is we could always make the RTA or the TMC start at 8:30 or whenever Jeremy arrives, because you and I could just entertain folks if we end early.
Routine, Tim.
Always a delightful option. Thank you.
Routine. We can do
I
our
was hoping
routine.
you'd say that, Tim. I was hoping you'd say that.
Do a little me in my shadow. It's going to be awesome.
Me, myself, and I. Okay, that's a great suggestion, Tim. Shane, what do you think about that? Or Jeff, I see your camera's on. Other members of the committee, what do you all think?
I'm good. I just needed that half an hour to try to get back to the office for my management meeting. So I think that works. I'll have a hard stop at 9:30 and we're good.
Mike, I was just gonna say, I prefer Wednesday, and if it has to go early, I can accommodate. Our council meetings are either the first and the third, but sometimes they move it to the second and the fourth. So I know so
Figured out.
Keeping you on your toes. Keeping you on your toes.
Yep. And then I have my leadership meeting the day after those meetings, so that will shift too. So I'd rather have it on Wednesday, the council meeting versus the leadership meeting. But so I like the Wednesday.
Right.
I can accommodate that.
I want to thank everybody. I think that works. Let's give it a shot. 8 o'clock Wednesday, second Wednesday of the month. So
Okay, that's what we'll do then. And then we'll start TMC later. Jeremy, I'll talk with you offline and see what time you think you'd be here, and then we'll make that call. Tim, thanks for your patience on that. That's what we'll do for the next meeting. We'll go from there. Thank you.
thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Sounds good. Teamwork makes the dream work. That takes care of that item. And so that'll take effect as of the next meeting, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
And
With
Mike,
Oh.
if I may, did I hear you say we should plan on monthly meetings for the next few months?
That's what I'm thinking at this point. We'll know a little more just because of as we prepare for March, for the election in March. We may not need management committee meetings. We may just need the TMC meetings. But I'm going to probably send out something to calendar those just so that you know that we might be needing them. And if we do, we can convene them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Put them on tentative, and
Yep.
we can keep our calendars clear.
We'll do that. We'll do that post haste.
It sounds good. I think that takes us to item number 7. the adjournment. Thank you all for your attendance, and I hand it back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate you. Okay, with no other business, Madam Chair of TMC, you can call the Technical Management Committee meeting to order at your leisure.
Thank you very much, Michael, and I will call to order the January 14th meeting of RTA's Technical Management Committee. I hope you've all received a copy of our minutes from November 12th and have had a chance to review it. We'd entertain any amendments to those minutes. And if there are none, would love to entertain a motion to approve.
I move we approve the minutes.
Thanks, Sam. For a second.
Second.
And I'm sorry for the records. Who was that?
It was me, Dan. Oh, go ahead, Jason.
All right,
Jason. Okay. Thank you, Jason. Just so I'm sure that be helpful for the record keeping. Okay. Been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of November 12th. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Thank you very much. Motion passes unanimously. Now on to item 3, which is the update on plan delivery of our 2006 RTA. Michael.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate that, members of the committee. So this is really what I'm going to start calling the closeout of the 2006 RTA. We've evolved this conversation from, cost to complete back in the good old days, to program update, to delivery, and now we really start thinking about what a closeout of the 2006 plan looks like. And so we will be making a pretty robust presentation to the board on the 29th. What you will see today is a precursor of that. It's in essence a draft, but what we're hoping to do is give an overview of the entirety of the program. Now, we're going to obviously spend a fair amount of time talking about roadway projects. I'm not sure that Sam or others will participate in today's presentation, but on the 29th, we will tap some of the jurisdictional partners to give an update on some of the projects that they're working on. And again, it's to really develop and instill the confidence of our ability to deliver the entirety of the 06 plan, but really, and also kind of tie it to the RTA next, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But it's really formulated about how do we give confidence to the board that we've got a game plan for the closing out the 06 plan. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rick, and I'm going to suggest that we may, Madam Chair, with your permission, combine items 3 and 4. There is there's some overlap there, and it might be easier just to do them together. And that way, Rick, when he's talking through this stuff, can also talk about some of the planning level delivery schedules as well.
Seems
So, Rick,
appropriate. Without objection, we'll go ahead and combine those two. Thank you.
thank you, Jen. Go ahead, Rick.
Fantastic. No, thank you all very much. Good seeing you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thanks for the opportunity. As Mike mentioned, we do have project aspects, and I'll be asking, or at least offer the opportunity for Sam, Terry, and Jeremy to weigh in as appropriate. I can cover those when we get to that point, or have them directly provide the information as you go. So, Isa, if you're ready to bring up the presentation, then I can go ahead and navigate from there. And let's make sure I've got control. Okay, the way I'm going to flow this for purposes to give you a preview of it, and the way we kind of laid it out is Mike talked about laying out for the 29th and using that as kind of the primary unveiling of it. We're going to go through and highlight benefits of the overall 2006 plan, and then completion and highlights, and then the closeout aspect of it. So there's a thematic flow in there that I wanted to give you a heads up on. So this first slide you see, and you hear about this a lot, but we wanted to consolidate and condense this into it to really showcase what the 2006 plan gave us. And in essence, we got $3 billion of additional public and private sector investments. That's the overall benefit to the region that from our economic studies that we've done, we can quantify and say that that investment of those 2006 2006 plan dollars has given us over $3 billion in the public and private type of businesses, enterprises, and development activities. The corridors where that was primarily examples that we like to use and share is the Twin Peaks interchange and all the various retail configurations up there that have continued to come to fruition. The downtown area, particularly along the streetcar route, you've seen how that's grown, evolved, and developed, and how the commercial interests and benefits have arisen. And then the Houghton Road corridor is another prime example that we point to and that we utilize and that we share that information. And that's one that's seen a lot of continued growth and development as the various projects have come online. In addition, our economic benefit on that, we've seen over 40,000 additional jobs that have come out of that investment, and those have been permanent jobs that have resided here in the region. So helping give that sustainability type of aspect to our economic benefits. And then we've had over 1,000 project and urban improvements across all modes. So this is covering the safety, the transit, the bike and ped, the roadways, all those. When you add them all up, we've seen over 1,000 different improvement features that have been spread throughout the overall transportation system. We had over 1.6 billion in RTA funds combined with 400 million in regional funds invested into it to improve our overall reliability, efficiency, and safety. So it's proven to be a good investment. As folks know, we had to utilize that combination of the RTA funds with what those revised projections would be, and then complementing it with the regional funds. So moving into the accomplishments, or what we often refer to as a lot of the commitments that you've seen in various publications out there. And this is following the same format. So I want to make sure that this stay consistent for your purposes and benefits. So you'd be seeing an apples and apples comparison on this. So when we talk roadway corridors, we're looking at the defined plan corridors that are in there, but we recognize they've been broken into individual segments and sections. So out of the 35 corridors identified in the plan, 19 of them are complete, 16 remain in various stages of completion, with various sections out there that have been like a Grant Road or a Houghton, where we've built individual pieces of those. With regards to the safety category, we have over 200 of our intersection improvements have been complete, and more forthcoming with the active projects that are underway. Out of the 80 signalized pedestrian crossings, 84 of those, so we've met those goals. Out of the 200 bus pullouts, we have 180 of them complete, with the remainder that will be brought online and achieve that number with associated the roadway projects. In our environmental and economic vitality aspect of it, we have 250 miles of sidewalks that have been identified and committed to the public, and approximately 180 of those are complete. Likewise, remainder of those associated with the remaining roadway projects that are going to be coming along, plus our ongoing pathway and sidewalk projects, and I'll hit upon that in a second. Also,
may I interrupt you for 1 second, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Shane, do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Rick, just so in the categories, in the safety category, but in the subcategory of an intersection and pedestrian crossings, we're overachievers as a region.
Yes, you could say that.
All right, great. I just wanted to make sure I had the numbers right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You are seeing that, and that is active as of right now. So that number will continue to grow. We track it, monitor it, and we know that there are going to be more coming on. So we are overperforming. That's a safe statement.
Thank you.
Yep. Unfortunately, the add to that as the counter is the last item there with the environmental economic vitality element, with the 550 miles of bike lanes, approximately 370 of those complete. We will be bringing on, as I mentioned, we have a lot of active roadway projects that are going to be forthcoming. You'll hear more about that. Bike and ped category projects that are going to be coming online. Plus, as you remember the discussions from the summer and fall, there was a decision to add then an additional 10 million into RTA Next, specific for this one particular aspect, so that we would hit those accomplishments and hit those commitment levels that were identified. So continuing on with that, highlighting the transit aspects on this, we established our regional network across the county with 8 Sun shuttle routes servicing Marana, Sahuarita, the TO, and portions of Pima County. Our 4 public dial-a-ride service areas in Oro Valley, Ajo, Marana, Avra Valley, and the Sahuarita Green Valley areas, with 11 express bus routes. Expanded paratransit coverage for all of our folks needing a special assistance on that outside the city limits. We have approximately 20% of our SunTran services that are funded through the RTA, which allows for expanded evening weekends. our increased Sun Van paratransit budget, and then our city expansion and distances. As far as our ridership numbers, we have over 2 million that have been provided by Sun Shuttle since fiscal year 2011. That equates to approximately 125,000 on a yearly basis. And then conversely, on the Sun Shuttle routes at our public dial ride, we're running about 235,000 of those on an annual basis as well. And then lastly, we've spent over $500 million on our operations since 2006, with a portion of it going to the Pima County on Aging to assist with paying the volunteers. Sunlink streetcar, capital and maintenance costs, and then our 7 park and ride locations across the region. So a very robust transit investment. Once again, many of you already know this, familiar with it, but we're making sure that we highlight its completion and its importance. So steps for closing out, as Mike said, how are we bringing closure to this? How are we bringing completion? How are we fulfilling our overall mission on this? So in the safety element, I highlighted that we're performing well on this. All of our active projects on this have been completed. Our environmental and economic vitality element, I mentioned that that's an ongoing one. This continues our investment in bike and ped projects. We have 2 of them that are construction activities underway as we speak. 6 more are planned to go to construction here in 2026, and then 1 more that's targeted and anticipated for 2028. We continue to invest in this area and using RTA funding as a leverage or a match funding when we get the grant funds that come in through the various programs out of the federal government. And Jamie Brown, who's our director of programming, has been facilitating that effort. We're going to be bringing on a new batch of projects and reviewing applications for those. So that's a regular recurring thing in which we're able to add to those totals. With regards to the wildlife activity, we do have a project out on Highway 86 that we're doing in conjunction with the Arizona Department of Transportation and the TO Nation for improved crossings. We had 2 earlier investments that were tagged along where we improved culverts basically for undercrossing features and added fencing for projects that we did concurrently or in conjunction with ADOT's efforts out there when they were doing safety improvements in the early 2010-11 timeframe. And now we have a remaining piece that was identified many years ago to make sure the overall biology and the mobility when it comes to the animals and their necessary migration patterns, that's all holistically achieved. So we're working on that project. It's in the early design, and we're working with the TO Nation to solicit community input feedback and make sure that we've got that properly factored in. So this is the portion where I'm going to turn to our regional partners on this that have been most directly involved with this. I can jump to them. So Terry, Jeremy, and Sam, I'll call out on you as we see fit on this as we go forward for the next couple of slides, because this gets to what Mike really teed it up with, and that is how are we bringing him the roadway element. And we wanted to give you enough detail so you can see where each of those individual project activities are going to be happening. We laid this out in a sequential manner, so it's going to be working from current forward, and we'll cover all these as we break them all down. So Terry, if you don't mind, I'll let you go first with the Tangerine Road 2A. If you can give a brief update on that one, that'd be fantastic. If Terry's still on. If we lost Terry or he had to step away, Tangerine Road is currently, so this is the section that's running from I-10 approximately 2 miles to the east, what we refer to as Marana Tech Drive. So the main roadway portion is essentially finished. They've completed the paving, the signing, the striping, landscaping installation is underway on that. They are working with the railroad right now on the crossing modifications, and that's the part that's languishing behind. And I'll hit more upon that at the conclusion of this. In addition, Marana, and this is just for informational purposes, Marana has been working real closely with ADOT to do improvements to the interchange there in essentially an interim improvement condition, much like what was done at Cortero many years ago. So we'll be peeling back the retaining walls, creating additional lane capacity under there and improving the overall operations. Some of the ramp work was completed at the tail end of last year, and then the bulk of the interchange work itself and the undercrossing is going to be starting this month. That is an independent effort being paid for by Marana and local developers on that, but being done in conjunction with the roadway work so that everything seamlessly comes together on that. Sunset Road, that project is currently underway as well as part of the mainline I-10 widening. that ADOT is leading. And those, you've probably seen some of that if you've driven up and down there. You see the Sunset Road going up and over. You see the ramp work continuing. And then off to the east, both the bridges, the one over the railroad tracks and then the one over the Rito, are moving into their next phase, which is going to include deck pours and along with the fill materials on those. That project is targeted to be completion sometime later this spring. Sam, I think I saw you on board, and if you can and don't mind, can you cover the city projects coming up on Grant and Valencia?
Hey,
Yeah.
Rick. Hey, Rick, before you go to Sam, Jan, I wanted to just mention that I know your staff has reached out on some type of milestone celebration for Sunset.
Correct.
And just so that the team knows, we're looking at probably the second week of February. I know that date hasn't been formalized or finalized, but thinking about the last bridge deck, uh, the completion of that piece of that. So I don't know, Jan or Carmen, if you know any more now, but I know that you all are kind of tentatively thinking about that. So just want to give the team a heads up. We're going to be inviting all the board members to come out at that point. So I know it's still, kind of not tied down, but just wanted y'all to be aware of that. That's all.
Thank you, Mike, for that. You're right. And we're just hoping for an opportunity to really have a nice celebration sometime before, say, the 10th of March. So thank you.
Good deal. Nope. Thanks, Mike. Sam, if you don't mind, if you can cover Grant Road 3-4 and then Valencia East.
Yeah, I'll actually start with downtown links, Rick.
Oh, God, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Good morning, everyone. So downtown links is getting closer and closer to being wrapped up. We did hit a few snags in terms of being ready to cut the ribbon in February. We are still dealing with some Union Pacific issues. I think many of you know we've had just a tremendous amount of struggles with Union Pacific as well as Lumen Fiber on this project. But literally the lights at the end of the tunnel, the road should be open for traffic the first week of March. And then we are looking to have substantial completion by the end of March. And we will have a very, very big celebration for the Downtown Links ribbon cutting, and you all are absolutely invited. Grant Roads 3 and 4 is just marching along. We are making some significant progress, particularly at the intersection of Grant and Alvernon. And we are right now on track to have that project complete at in the fall of this year. And Valencia Road has probably been our smoothest project, knock on wood, cold to Houghton. Borderlands out there just blowing and going, and we expect to be at substantial completion in August, September of this year, and that'll wrap up that project. You want me to keep rolling, Rick, into the next city projects?
I'll tell you what, since I bundled and batched these, let me pause now and ask if there's any questions on the 2026, the active construction jobs that we've going on. We know it's just 5 of those. You obviously hear that they're coming up on completion. Any questions from the group? Seeing none, then let's move into the ones that are going to be coming up in the next wave that's getting ready to start. And Sam, yeah, if you can cover everything, Jeremy's online and he can cover the Irvington Road one. So if you can cover the rest, that'd be great.
Sure, be happy to. So this evening, we have our 22nd Street Bridge pre-construction open house. Granite is our selected contractor, and we are having a groundbreaking celebration on February 4th. Really excited to get that project going. That is going to take about 3 years. It is a segmental bridge project. I think dollar-wise, it'll end up being the largest transportation project we've ever done as a city. And so we're really excited to get that one going. If you'd like to swing by tonight at the Randolph Rec Center and learn more about that, you're welcome to join us. Silver Bell, Gareda, El Camino del Cerro. This was one that we were on hold pending some cultural issues that we ran into. We're actually beyond those now. So we were just waiting on approval from the Army Corps of Engineers to get that one moving. We are anticipating construction will start in probably late 26. That design is essentially finalized. We just need to wrap up the environmental and cultural pieces to get that one moving. Grant Road at the Union Pacific Railroad, if you recall, this is the one where we had a lot of conversation about, is there going to be a PED bridge? Is there not going to be a PED bridge? We've collectively decided to move forward with the road portion of this project. We're going to hold off on the pedestrian access till later. So this will be the widening of Grant Road to the inside of the roadway prism, 3 lanes in each direction. And we're actually looking at accelerating this project. If we were to wait and try to resolve all the pedestrian issues, we would have been well after the casino opened. But in talking with Pasquayaki and working with ADOT, we were able to find a path forward that will allow us to get this construction done this year before the casino opens. That is going to include the full closure of Grant Road right there at the Union Pacific Railroad. But we are anticipating breaking ground in April. Road will close sometime in May, and we should be out of there by October. So really excited to get that one going. And just want to say a quick shout out to ADOT, Pasquayaki, and the RTA. All of us sat down, got in a room. We figured out a way to get that one moving. And I think that's just a testament to when we work together, we can get stuff done. I'll finish out mine with Valencia I-19 to Alvernon. That is a federalized project. That was actually the TIP amendment that just got approved on the management committee. We swapped some money around, put the federal money on 22nd Street for this year, and then moved some of that money for next year. I believe we're looking at trying to get that one under construction later this year. And then Houghton Road, Irvington to 22nd. The utilities are going crazy out there right now, moving, getting out of the way. And so we are looking at kicking off construction in summer of this year. And that project will last about 2 to 3 years. That's all I got. Thank you very much.
Perfect. The Irvington Road interchange, and the Irvington Road is a component of the project identified basically the improvement of intersections. The RTA aspect of it was improvement of intersections of bike ped facilities in the vicinity of that interchange prism. And several years ago, we were able to identify and coordinate and combine, similar to what we did with I-10 and Sunset, and have these improvements integrated within ADOT. So Jeremy, if you can give a status update on where we're at with the overall interchange project, that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. So yeah, Irvington, we're looking at advertising for bids this month, January. Looking for a bid opening around April and get to the board meeting in April as well. And then we're looking for a June start date for construction. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Advertise this month, go to the board and do a bid opening in April, and then start construction in June. And it is a 22-month project. So
perfect.
That's what we're at.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, as we continue with the roadway element, then we got construction. So several of these we have activity underway with the construction now anticipated to start up in 2027. So Sam, if you can cover the 22nd Street East and Harrison Bridge, that'd be great.
Thanks, Rick. So 22nd Street Bridge will be wrapping up design this year. And then we'll be working with real estate and utilities for acquisitions and primarily TEP, moving the poles out of the way there. I can't remember when we have construction planned for that. Actually, give me just a second. We are looking at construction starting early 28. And then for Harrison Bridge over the Pantano Wash, we are doing that as a progressive design build. I believe we are in the final stages of selecting our consultant contractor team, and we are looking at construction starting at the beginning of 27. Yep, and that's it for mine.
Perfect. The middle one in there with design and right-of-way activities is Bras Aviation. And you remember from the 2006 plan, there was identified that as part of that future corridor, we would set aside an allocation that would assist with those, recognizing that was going to be advanced acquisitions or advanced activities associated with that. So that's still part of it. ADOT is still moving forward with that, but I'll let Jeremy talk about how that's going to be incorporated into the overall project.
Yeah, so currently we are working on the right of way over there at the Alvernon TI. Like Rick said, there was some monies programmed in the first RTA for the right of way and design, and so we're kind of tracking that and keeping those funds isolated specifically at Alvernon, because in the future that's where the SR 210 connection will be made. But a current status on that one is we are looking to advertise for design consultant February of this year. so we can get that kicked off. It will be a design bid build traditional delivery method on that one. And we want to be in construction in fiscal year 28 and 29. One of the challenges that we're having on that one is ideally we would like to include the reconstruction and widening at Valencia and I-10. However, I've been working with the team over there at PAG and RTA is it's funding. And so we've just got to figure out how to manage that. But we may have to pull those limits back to the west side of Valencia and just do Alvernon, the Drexel crossing, and then widen I-10 up to Valencia and stop a little bit short. But we're still trying to find out how we can get it programmed and keep it all together. So that's kind of where we're at that point.
So one thing for to add on to that, and thank you much, both of you guys, just for everybody's awareness on that. When ADOT completed the I-10-210 design and environmental document on that, they had developed a phasing and implementation plan, if you will. So it laid out the sequencing for, I think it was associated with 18 pieces over the course of the years as to how that would all be implemented. So there's a very specific way sequencing that's been laid out and trying to adhere to that. So the portion that, as Jeremy was talking about, is the main line widening we want to get in, but they'll be able to incorporate any kind of those activities, connections, design, and particularly any right-of-way purchases at that Alvernon intersection. So it's the mainline portion driving it, because that's the next available stage, but we'll talk more about that as we go forward. There were several projects, as you know, over the discussions in the summer, culminating in the fall with the next in the development of the next plan. And so activities are underway for several of these projects. I'll cover Tangerine Road, what we refer to as 2B, which is then that last 3-mile segment that's going to connect the improved portion to the west with the prior constructed portion to the east. The design team is actively working on that one, primarily working on the design of the drainage. There's very extensive stuff coming down off the Tortolita mountain range area in there. So it's a very complicated type of drainage configuration in conjunction with a lot of the state lands properties. I think they're approaching the 90% submittal or at 90% and have started initial discussions with the utilities for advanced relocations, as well as then starting discussions with state lands to secure easements associated with all that drainage improvements and work that needs to be done. This project is contingent on a portion of the funding in RTA next. So once we get word of the election in March, we'll have a better idea of the time frame and the availability of funding to be able to move forward. So covering Tangerine, Sam, if you can cover Grant Road 5 and 6 and then First Ave South, that'd be great.
Sure. Thanks, Rick. I'd be happy to. So we are kicking off the real estate phase of Grant Road phases 5 and 6. That is going to be a Herculean effort. There's over 150 acquisitions along that corridor. We are working together with RTA, who has hired a consultant to help with the property acquisition. And we are also hiring multiple consultants to help us with that acquisition process. The plans are at 90%. So really it's just wrap up the plans now and make sure that the real estate team has everything they can to start making offers, relocating folks, starting demolitions, and working with the utilities to start staging their work so they can get moved out of the way. And then on First Avenue, Grant Road to River, we are out of the DCR phase and moving into the design phase on that. And we just continue to make progress on those plans over the next several months. Thanks, Rick.
Perfect. Before I move on, any questions from any of the members on those with the upcoming waves starting up here in 26 and 27?
Hey, good morning, Rick. Can you hear me?
Yep, gotcha, Josue. Go ahead.
Hey, so this doesn't apply to any of these projects here, but just throwing it out there for the general plan in South Tucson. What happens to the money left on the table for so for South Tucson, there's $2 million left over for 2 intersection projects and some very small money for some design for 36th Street bike ped project. What happens to those monies after this, closing out?
We may have to follow up in more detail to get to those specifics and what those amounts are, but basically, I think we're looking to expend all the money that we have available. That's part of ensuring that all of this is moving forward. So we want to make sure there's investment in it and that we're completing and fulfilling everything that we've committed to. So we can follow up in more details if you have specific needs, uses, or benefits that you want to see us accomplish and incorporate.
All right, thank you.
You got it. Continuing on with the roadway update on this. So these are remaining projects now that are in RTA next, as I mentioned, that have the scope revisions and additional funding. And these have had very, very, very limited activity, if any at all. And they are targeted for first period. So with that, we've identified the section of Silver Bell from Del Cerro up to Ina. That's our final segment. The First Avenue from Orange Grove to Ina Road that the county is going to be the lead on. 22nd Street, this is one that's from I-10 to Keno. So it was originally part of it, identified as a 6-lane. Through a lot of community feedback and reevaluation by the city, identified that that can be a 4-lane, but retaining the important and the agreed upon drainage, bike ped, and railroad crossing there for the Nogales spur line. And then lastly, the very north end of Houghton Road from Broadway up to Tanque Verde that will complete that overall corridor. So these are all projects that need the scope revisions approved through RTA's next election, and then the additional funding brought to bear as well. So some of the challenges and opportunities associated with these. Wanted to highlight, there's, as you heard from the other presenters on this, a lot of activities, a lot of tasks, but we wanted to highlight just some of the key things that we're seeing that are unique or that may be, above and beyond the normal complications, but also that we're on top of. So specific to Tangerine 2A, I talked about that with regards to the status that we're still working on, the particular railroad crossing aspects of it and the coordination with the railroad on that. We are approaching the 90% design of those rail improvements and having interactions with the railroad company at this time. We just don't have a lot of details as to the specifics on that and what the timeframes are going to be, but we're staying closely on top of that. With regards to Silver Bell, Valencia, Houghton that Sam mentioned are all forthcoming. Right now, we're in a bidding climate where we're a little unsure of what exactly is happening. So it's one of those things we're keeping a real high pulse on. We don't have a wave of job after job after job that's going to give us a lot of good data points and a lot of good insights as to what the industry practices, trends, things that are happening on a national level and that may spill over here. So we're updating cost estimates on a regular basis based on the latest available data, and we'll be able to make sure we incorporate those in prior to bid time. Jeremy and I talked about the Bras Aviation, and what's tricky about all this is the expenditure of the RTA funds. So we're going to be able to put a portion of that to those to that tie-in connection between 210 and I-10 at the Alvernon interchange. But the rest of the project then is dependent on a lot of time frame. I think Jeremy at one time in probably our previous meetings had estimated that could be upwards of $1 billion to complete that entire effort. Right now, that's not currently programmed, so they're focusing on the earlier stages and phases that were identified with the implementation plan. So we're going to be closely coordinating with them on that to say, how can we fulfill, maximize our investment opportunity, still contribute to the project, but not leave funding stranded unnecessarily. And then lastly, with one of the bike and ped projects on there, there's improvements on Church Street. That is one of the ones we've worked closely with the city on. And right now, there's a lot of activity identified for repaving, water work in the downtown area, of which this Church Street bike improvement is part of, and how we want to organize that, how we want to integrate that so that we don't hit the downtown urban core too hard and overwhelm it with too much project activity and impact any of the major events, activities that come on throughout the calendar of the year. So that's one of those that requires a lot of, one of the city PMs used a phrase that stuck with me. Sometimes you're playing reverse Jenga, and that's always stuck with me as to how complicated some of these things are and what it takes to put this stuff in there. So,
Hey, Rick.
Sam, Jeremy, anything else you would like to add to these?
Yeah, thanks, Rick. One comment, it is Church Avenue, just so you can make sure that's accurate in your presentation.
Thank you.
And I just a little more context on that. These RTA funds are layered in with some other funds, primarily Prop 101 funding for the repaving of Church Avenue. And what's really driving the schedule, just for everyone's awareness, is the replacement of the water line under Church Avenue, as well as coordinating with all of the special events that we hold downtown. So just wanted to put that plug in there. Thanks, Rick.
Perfect. No, cool. And thank you. Jason?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, inquire about Grant Road, UPRR. You'd mentioned that the PED bicycle improvements were being delayed. Is that going to be that component of the plan? I can't recall if it was a part of the scope of work in the original RTA plan, but is that going to be planned as far as future work, or what's the status on that?
I can answer that, Rick.
Please do.
Yeah, so I to answer your question about it being included, I believe the pedestrian improvements were part of the original RTA project in the RTA plan. In fact, the original project was a total reconstruction of that underpass, which is not going to happen. I think what we agreed to, Jason, when we last met, is that we're going to pursue a couple different options for the pedestrian access at Grant Road. One being revisiting the idea of tunnels on either side of Grant Road, or maybe going back and revisiting the idea of a pedestrian bridge. Both of those would have taken too long for us to try to meet the timeline we're trying to meet. But we do intend to continue to flesh those out. And as those conversations evolve, we'll absolutely be sure to keep the Pasquayaki tribe involved with those.
Sam, so the so those future plans for pedestrian components, would that fall under RTA or RTA Next?
I think we're holding some of the. I'll give a quick answer, and well, Mike's hand went up. I'll let Mike go. Go ahead, Mike.
No problem. Hey, Jason, this is under the RTA 1, and so part of our fund balance, if you will, to complete the RTA projects, we've got money set aside for this. So if you kind of think about it as the grant UPRR has two components. It's the road widening to 6 lanes, and then the pedestrian after that. And the reason we did that was twofold. One, we weren't sure we were going to be able to finish that construction in time for the casino opening, but we also are exploring options with the railroad. There's a potential for tunnels. There's a potential for an overpass. So we're still, I'll call it developing the concepts there. And once we have something to show, then we'll certainly engage the tribe and others as appropriate. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from any of the other committee members?
Hey, Rick.
I was just going to hand it back to you, Mike, if you want to make any closing statements before I move on to item number 4.
Sam's got his hand up.
I'm sorry.
Sam's got his hand up if he's got a question. And then Shane. Sam?
Thanks, Jan. Rick, I just want to make a couple comments on the presentation. I think it was all really, really good information. I'd like to see some more pictures. I think that we have some really good visuals of these projects that are being completed or under construction. I know the city of Tucson has some. I know other jurisdictions do. And so I just might make a plug that we add some of that visual representation of the work we're doing. That might be impactful to the board and others. That's all.
Thank you.
Got it.
Shane.
Perfect. And thank you.
Hey, just to acknowledge the exciting energy surrounding these types of updates. It's great to see and hear about these projects moving forward in such an expedited way. And credit to the city of Tucson, to Marana, and others that have these specific projects. And certainly, Mike, a credit to you and your staff for helping move this stuff along. It's just it just really is fun and exciting to witness the energy behind it. So thanks.
Thank you, Shane. Thanks very much. I don't see any other hands, so Mike, is it back to you?
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Jen. Thanks, Jane. I appreciate it. It certainly is a team effort. And I want to make a few comments. Rick, if you could go back, or whoever's got the screens, if you can go back, I think it's 2 slides. So I wanted to point out, and this is really for Tim, Christina, and Sam. Your bosses, one of them anyway, Ward 5 council member, was expressing some concerns that she had heard from some folks about the delay of 22nd Street. And I wanted to make sure that everyone's clear. I know you all are, but I wanted to make sure that folks that might be listening to this understand that was a very deliberate decision by the city of Tucson to move this into RTA next, not because it couldn't be completed in RTA 1, but because of the public feedback that was received on the 6-lane section. And after we ran the ADT requirements, it's obvious that 6 lanes is too much, so we went to a 4-lane. But the only way to go from 6 lanes to 4 lanes is going back to the voter. And so I wanted to make sure that I made that comment, mostly a heads up for the city folks. You can go back 1 slide. Let's see here. On the Grant Road 5-6, in the conversation there, Sam mentioned that we're engaged, the RTA is engaged. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about what that engagement looks like. We are assisting in right-of-way acquisition. We are not taking the leadership role there. The city is still the agency lead. But we do have a contractor on board that is helping with some appraisals and some things to try to really move that forward and provide help and assistance in compressing that time frame. When we look at the next project, which is that First Avenue project, we're going to be exploring a little bit of a different model in terms of looking at what right-of-way acquisition, kind of from a macro perspective of, the overview of the entire corridor, and starting to push early and advanced acquisitions. And that is going to set the stage for how we move into projects that have not been started yet, either RTA 1 projects or RTA Next. And so the thought process there is to have an advanced team that'll look at the corridors and start to identify both parcels that can be acquired, or that we have a reasonable chance of needing the entire parcel, and utility relocations. And so the thought process there is to really bring the utilities into the conversation earlier. And since they're oftentimes reluctant to do that because we don't have a final project or a final design, what we will do is on our own, we will start working with the utility companies, potentially hiring consultants to assist in that advanced design work. That'll hopefully compress some of that time, because today it seems like we wait until we get to a certain point of right-of-way acquisition and design, and then we start with utility design and relocation. So I wanted to point that out to you. We'll give you a little more on that at your next meeting, but that's really where we're headed on that. Rick, if you can go up 1 slide, or Isa, whoever's doing
Forward or back?
that. Forward, back, I guess, towards the beginning. I wanted to mention on the 22nd Street Bridge, you'd heard me talk about that at the last meeting. I think this is a great example of how working together with the contractor, the city, and the RTA, we're really able to get that across the finish line. Sam mentioned we've got our groundbreaking on February 4th. I sent a note out to your bosses encouraging them to attend. I'm going to suggest that they attend all of these groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings, regardless of what jurisdiction they're in, because it demonstrates the leadership, even though behind the scenes, the leadership of the RTA on these projects. But more importantly, I think it really speaks to how we can accomplish pretty amazing feats. As Sam mentioned, it's one of the largest, if not the largest, construction or road project that's ever been accomplished in the city, and I suspect probably even in potentially in the region as far as the local governments go. So I wanted to point that out because I think that really sets the stage for how we will approach projects in the future. And hopefully it's not always, scrounging and scraping and looking for pennies, but it really is an opportunity to develop and strengthen our relationships to demonstrate to the public that we're really working together to get these projects done. Last thing I'll mention, just kind of in summary, and you can take that down now, is this overview that you saw today is what I'm expecting the board is going to see not only on the 29th, but on a quarterly basis. Now, we're going to give more information about, some of the financials. We're going to give more information, as far as some of the challenges. That last slide that showed I think Rick called it challenges or opportunities. That's probably going to get longer because as we get into projects, we're going to be able to identify some of the challenges that we know are out there. And I want to make sure that everyone is seeing those and that they're tracked so that we can identify our progress over time on all of those pieces. And it's not a surprise that we're delayed or that there's a challenge or that there's a budget crunch on a particular issue. So we're trying to get everybody used to seeing that because that will help with the accountability. It will help with the transparency, and just across the board, I think it's going to be a better approach to how we deliver the entirety of the program. So with that, I'll turn. Oh, I see there's a hand up, Madam Chair. If it's okay to.
Yeah, John.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mike, I just want to compliment you on focusing on the utility relocation part of this, because you're right. Typically, we've delayed getting involved with the utilities till the end of the project or the design is well advanced. But you just said something I think is key as well. We were good about telling the utilities what our schedules were, but not always keeping them up to date when we had changes. And for utility companies, of course, these relocations are not generating new revenues for them, so they're reluctant to spend it any earlier than they have to. So I just encourage us to we've had numerous forums in the past of utility coordinating committees, et cetera, that we come up with something where we keep these guys informed so that, we both are working together, with the same assumptions. That's my comment.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
So, Madam Chair,
Any
with that,
other, I'm just double checking one last time, looking at the list. Any other questions, comments for Michael or for the staff? Seeing none. Okay, thank you.
Then I'll turn it back over to Rick to go over the next item. What is it?
Thank you.
4.
Thank you.
This one will be a much, much simpler and easier than what we went through. So wanted to let you know and give you a heads up so you can share it with your various staff as well. So over the course of the last several months, and as you've heard us report, we've been reaching out to the jurisdictions, directly to the directors or the project team members or the responsible parties that are going to be associated with oversight and delivery. We wanted to get an initial cut from everybody. Where do you see these projects? Where do you see the programs? We want a fully loaded aspect to say, okay, how would you envision this being delivered? We did hear back from most folks on that. We were able to connect with several and go through at various levels of detail. Our initial cut and assessment on that, and it's no surprise to this group, we had a very, very front-loaded and very financially heavily loaded period 1 and portions of period 2. So in seeing how that shook out, we now want to follow up. We had indicated this all along, but we're going to be sending out a request to do a follow-up discussion with the individual jurisdictions and talking to specifics about the projects and the particular program aspects. And we're going to go into a much, much deeper dive. We're going to want to get specifics, and we recognize the challenge associated with that because sometimes that information is not always available. Sometimes that's one of those chicken and egg is, well, you need the team to compile it beforehand. We're wanting folks to take a much more aggressive look at it and say, how would you identify that as the lead jurisdiction, as the one leading the effort, and then assemble the team to identify how to bring it home. So we're going to be doing that to a level of detail where we're going to be looking for design, right-of-way, construction, specific amounts, and timeframes associated with the projects, primarily focused on periods 1 and 2, as well as a deeper definition and deeper dive into the categorical items. So we're going to be sending that information out. We're going to be requesting that over the next several weeks as we get with the jurisdictions on that to get that information in there. As Mike said, that'll become the basis basis for commitment schedules, identified aspects, activities that we're going to be reporting and sharing through this committee, the CART, and the board on a regular progress, and then what we're going to be looking at as we hold ourselves accountable, as we make sure that we meet the delivery promises, obligations, and expectations. So just want to give a status update that that's still in a state of activity, but we are transitioning now from that high clip level we started with into the deeper dive that we knew we wanted to do as we build this forward going, as we build this up going forward. So Mike, that's all I had, and I wanted to share on that one, unless one of the other team members involved would like to add anything to that particular update.
Anybody else on the team want to say anything before we turn it back over to Jen for questions? Okay, back to you, Jen.
Okay, thank you. If I don't move, the lights go out in my office. We got to pay the bill. There you go. And with that, so we're ready to move on to RTA next, item 5. Mr. Ortega, thank you.
Yep. So, Madam Chair, I'm going to turn it over to Melanie Lawson. She's our Director of Public Outreach. Just give you a quick overview of what our outreach efforts have been to educate folks. As you know, we have an election coming up March 10th. So, Melanie.
Great, thank you. Yes, I don't have slides today, just a verbal update. So I'll cover some of the December activities that have been completed. We had 5 presentations to various organizations around Pima County. We've also tabled at several different events, several holiday events, Winterfest that included also Fiesta in La Calle. So we're doing our outreach to hard to reach populations as well. And then had 3 public Q&A sessions in December, and there's more throughout January and February also. On the communication side, we have a podcast series that has been launched, a lot of emailing, reminding people about key dates and driving traffic to the website and to look at the plan. We've been promoting the Q&A sessions through news releases, newsletters, social media ads. We have paid radio, paid TV, digital, and newsprint ads as well. We also have bilingual flyers on buses and shuttles, and then at libraries across Pima County. We also have RTA Next articles that have been going out to businesses, different nonprofits, trade, civic organizations, just asking people to distribute information through their organization or through their network. For the next 2 weeks, kind of looking ahead, we have several different events where we will be tabling and sharing information with the community. We have public Q&A sessions. We had one last night at El Pueblo Center, one tonight at South Tucson. I know we're competing events. And the 21st next week at El Rio Neighborhood Center, and then the 22nd at the Ward 3 office. All of these dates and times are on our website. A quick summary kind of the interactions, and this is anecdotal based on what our staff has provided based on the interactions for tabling and also the presentations, is that people do know the RTA projects, even if they don't know the RTA is an acronym. So the more that you can talk to your network or your community about projects, that works well for people. It's also helpful to provide some specific examples to help people connect the dots if there's a specific project within your jurisdiction, and help people see the link also between transportation investment and economic development. We like to use the example for Houghton Road improvements, the Twin Peaks interchange, talking about commercial and other retail activity coming to the area. Something people can see and maybe pass every day is helpful. People also like the idea of investing in ourselves and being able to have that dedicated funding source that's locally controlled and independent of the state and federal sources. And people are also receptive to the level of specificity within the road projects, but then talking about the categoricals and safety and other investments that adapt to the changing needs of the region over the next 20 years. So our main overarching message is that, there is something for everyone in the plan, whether you walk, drive, ride, take a bus, and all while continuing to pay the same in taxes. There is a misperception that RTA Next would be a tax increase. So one of our key messages is to reiterate that you will continue to pay the same in taxes for the next 20 years. So I'm telling you all of this background information just so you can help spread awareness. Also ask your PIOs and communication channels to help spread this information. We have a meeting tomorrow with the PIOs for all of the jurisdictions, and we're really just asking for help about spreading educational information, raising awareness, and driving traffic to social media and to our website. We have a lot of fact sheets and videos available. If you need logos or footage of completed projects, we have all of that. Just please reach out. And then the other key message is that maintaining kind of the status quo and continuing the RTA does require action. And without RTA, roads don't necessarily deteriorate overnight, but transit users are the first to be impacted, and there will be a reduction in service. And then the tax information, again, just reiterating, you'll continue to pay the same in taxes. Those are kind of the key things I wanted to hit on. I know I covered that quickly without slides. Again, our website has a lot of information. I'm sure you all know this by heart. And we appreciate your partnership and support. If there are opportunities in January or February where we can have a table or tack on to an event that you already have planned, please let me know. We can also just drop off materials and do whatever we can to support you. So thank you.
Melanie, what's your sense? Melanie and Mike, I know you've been out and tabling and talking to folks. It's feeling good?
It's good after some explanation. So once you're able to, hit on one key project, remind people what they use every day is tied to RTA Next, and then reiterate that they will not pay additional, out of pocket. Those two things are really big for people, and then they understand. And then a lot of people relate to something in their backyard. I'm out in the Vale area. If you mention Marianne Cleveland or Colossal Cave to anybody in this region, their eyes light up. So I think the more you can talk about it at the local level is helpful.
Conversely, any Achilles heel, anything that you're hearing that might be that negative that we can also help to think about and address when we're all speaking at groups?
I think some of the questions that have come up are related to, certain jurisdictions maybe generating more funding and supporting other jurisdictions. So the more that we can reiterate that it's a regional plan, economic vitality is regional, transportational is regional, and focus on the benefits of that will be helpful.
Thank you.
Jen,
Mike,
I would add, yeah, thank you. I would add that the new tax versus continuation is probably the single biggest issue that we need to make sure people are clear on. And it's hard, right, when you're out because they'll pick up a snippet. So we've tried to change our language a little bit on some of our media, some of our materials. But I will also tell you, the key is explaining. And once you explain things to folks, they seem pretty reasonable and it's, oh, okay, that makes sense. We've been out and about, as Melanie mentioned, all over, anybody who'll listen to us, and we're willing to even go to more. And once you're there and you explain it, you talk through it, people seem to be okay and understand it. I think the key will be who turns out in March, as usual, right? We are expecting a fairly low turnout, which is not necessarily good. So we're hoping to get the word out that it's important to exercise your right, to vote. So.
Any comments, thoughts, questions from the board for Melanie or Mike? Not seeing anything coming in. Okay. Mike, anything else for us?
I don't think so. Thank you all so much. Appreciate you all. And we'll see you probably next month.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Take care.
Good deal.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Thanks, Sam,
Bye.
Jeremy.
Have a good day,
Thank you.
everybody.